Hello and welcome to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, Samson Folk, here to detail for you the Raptors' latest win, 98-93, taking a 2-1 lead over the Orlando Magic in their best-of-7 series in the Eastern Conference Finals first round. First, let's talk about the sponsor, or not even talk about, just mention it, Brian Goldfinger of Goldfinger's Personal Injury Lawyers. Thanks for the sponsorship. Now let's get into it. Okay, so in the first quarter we saw continued success for Gasol on defense in the pick and roll. And not just Gasol, it's something I wrote about as well. As it's not just Gasol, but Pascal Siakam, Danny Green, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, all monumentally important in helping out Gasol in those actions and shutting down Nikola Vucevic. That was something that we saw continued success on after Game 2 and the second half of Game 1. There's a reason we're not nearly as scared when it comes to defending DJ Augustine as we were in Game 1. Is because the defense is completely switched up. We're playing a lot more aggressive. And Gasol and co. have showed themselves as very capable in those actions. Really great start to the game. They shut down the Magic offense completely. The only person who was making shots was Isaac early on. And I love Jonathan Isaac. And I don't mean anything bad, but he's not very good offensively. And he does hurt the Magic often on that end. But he's terrific defensively, so they have to play him, which is something we'll talk about later on. He was the only one making shots for them early on. The Raptors obviously was in their defensive game plan to incentivize Jonathan Isaac jump shots. And he made a couple. That's fine. That's the way it was supposed to go. Vucevic was still getting shut down. Fournier was still getting shut down. Augustine was still getting shut down. This was really great. Kawhi Leonard had a tough start to the game, and that continued throughout the game as well. He goes to the rim really hard in this game, whereas in Game 2, he started out killing the Magic from mid-range and then worked his way all around the court from then on. In this one, he was really determined to go to the rim, and the refs were really... I watched the Magic feed on this one, and it was difficult to watch when the game was close, but funny to watch when the Raptors were up by quite a bit. The Magic announcers seemingly thought that the Magic were getting the wrong side of the whistle, even though I think at the end of the game the foul calls were like 23-16 maybe, and the Raptors shot 8 free throws to the Magic's 28 or 23. Just weird takes, and they also were like lampooning on Kyle Lowry like for complaining, which, I mean, whatever. But yeah, weird take, especially Kawhi Leonard, who happens to be one of the 10 best players in the league, and that's, a rating that isn't debatable. He's for sure a top 10 player. You could go as high as top 5, and depending on the night, you can go as high as top 3 if you want. But he was 5 of 19 tonight. The bulk of his shots came at the rim, and the Magic played very, very aggressive defense at the rim, and they're good at it. I'm not of the mind that the Magic just fouled and hacked him. They fouled him a few times. I think that much is... Everybody knows that. But a lot of the time they did play good defense. But it was just weird to see that one of the premier players in the league didn't receive any type of whistle at the rim. Strange. The only 2 calls he got at the rim were on the fast break when he took absolute shoulders going to the rim. They built up their early lead on offense. That was all gravy. There was a bit of trepidation from Nick Nurse to play his starters a long time, seemingly early on in the game. I mean, Marc Gasol only ended up playing 26 minutes, but that was due to foul trouble. Early in the game, Nurse went to a bench lineup that I wasn't sure why he was doing it, but Nurse made up for it later on in the game by playing heavier minutes for, let's say, Kyle Lowry, Siakam, and Leonard in the third. But early on, the Raptors did give up the 10-plus point lead that they had when they went to the Fred VanVleet bench lineup, and they only staggered Siakam with it. This is a recurring theme for the Raptors, is putting faith in Pascal Siakam, and not like a normal amount of faith for how good Siakam is. Like, they put Siakam in positions where he kind of has to be LeBron if he wants to lift the Raptors bench units. And oftentimes he isn't LeBron, he's Pascal Siakam, who is a very, very good player, but it seems like the Raptors, let's say, are being put in positions where they won't succeed. But in this game, let's leave it at the first quarter. It didn't go well. The bench lineup did not go well. Second quarter, Difficulties continue for Kawhi Leonard. He's still trying very hard, but the Raptors find a bit of success. Kyle Lowry minutes are a big win. Pascal Siakam keeps scoring, and Marc Gasol still is playing fantastic defense on Nikola Vucevic. The Magic can't really get anything going. The second quarter ends with a prayer thrown up by Terrence Ross, which, I mean, good for Terrence Ross hitting a prayer. He actually hit a lot of shots in this game, a lot of triples. And the Magic seemed to have a bit of life from that. Watching the first half, you felt like the Raptors were squandering a lot of opportunities to really blow the game open because the Magic weren't going to be that bad on offense forever. There was going to be adjustments, and there was going to be points scored in the second half. So let's move on to that. At first, actually, I want to address Fred was bad. Fred needs to work off of another player. I need to see Nurse adjust the lineup so that Fred is no longer a primary creator. He needs to be playing off of Siakam. And I'm not saying Siakam where they're using him now, where Siakam is playing as a tertiary option on the bench lineup. Siakam needs to be the primary option on the bench lineup, and Fred needs to be running off hawk screens. He needs to be running pin downs. He needs to be off ball. He's pounding the air out of the ball. It's not working for the Raptors. They're dying every time he's on the floor. I think he was a minus 11, and I'm sure that was the worst. Yes, worst of the night. I love Fred VanVleet. I love how his game looks when he plays next to Kyle Lowry, especially when he's hitting from downtown. He plays quite well with Marc Gasol as well, as a tertiary option, though. So I just want to hammer that home that I do not agree with Nurse's rotations if they factor in Fred VanVleet as a primary creator, especially if it's going to be for over 5 minutes, 6 minutes a game. It can't run because you're going to lose the minutes. And shocker, they did tonight. Second half, after Terrence Ross hit that 3, the lead was down to 3 for the Raptors. Second half opens up. Really tough stretch for the Raptors because Marc Gasol gets 2 quick fouls called on him, and he has 4. He has to get out of the game. That's just how it happens. The Raptors need to make that. Well, they were behooved to make that decision. Nurse was, because if Marc Gasol would have got that 5th, and then suddenly the Raptors, let's say it's a close game down the stretch, they need Marc Gasol in the game, and he picks up his 6th foul or something, and then you have like the Magic who can just go to Vucevic down the stretch. You hate that. That is exactly what you don't want to happen. So Nurse pulled him, Ibaka went in, and the troubling stretch didn't happen at the end of the game. It happened in the third quarter. And there's a lot of takeaways from this. Ibaka got dominated just so bad in the first 4 minutes. He got absolutely dominated. And the Raptors' offense, which kept ending up, like the swing pass kept ending up in Ibaka's hands. So it ended up that he tanked the offense and the defense early on. Now, there's a happier ending to this story, but at that point in time, Ibaka was getting cooked by Vucevic. And Vucevic, at this point in the series, has no momentum. He hasn't been able to create any offense for himself. He hasn't even been able to work off of the offense that other people are creating for him. That's how effective Gasol has been at defending Vucevic so far. Vucevic, an all-star, 21-12 this year, was shooting less than 30% against Gasol. Gasol had completely taken his game out from under him. He got it going when he was against Ibaka. And it's tough to say, but because Ibaka isn't big enough, and Gasol is definitely big enough to bang around with Vucevic, but Gasol was terrible for a 4-minute stretch. That 4-minute stretch, the Magic came and took the lead from the Raptors. It felt like that was where the game was sitting, and the game was going to be decided in that mid-third quarter stretch. Ibaka was in, the Raptors were trapped, they had to play him. They don't have OG, so they can't play OG at the 4 if they're trying to do Siakam at the 5 if they want to go small and try and run the score up on the Magic. They just had to play with an Ibaka-Siakam front court. And keep in mind that they still had a bench unit to play late 3rd, early 4th. So they had to figure something out. What happened next was it is the most fantastic progression for Pascal Siakam's career. The Raptors did not have a solve for the Vucevic actions on defense. In fact, they were getting killed. What occurred after that was Pascal Siakam scored with the whole Orlando Magic offense, decimated them in the half court. He hit threes. He created for Danny Green. He had layups. He hit and ones. He was crafty in the post. He hit from the mid-range. I mean, he was unstoppable and relentless in so many different play types. They ran post-ups for him. They ran DHOs for him, dribble handoffs for those who don't know, pick and rolls for him. So many things to get him going on offense, and he delivered every time, even though the defense was geared to stop him. That was the thing that just impressed me so much was Vucevic is an all-star. He was killing Ibaka. He should. That's a mismatch. Siakam didn't get a mismatch. He just had to go against the Magic who were rolling, and he had to outscore them. And he did. And not only that, but his scoring, it dissuaded the Magic in their own offense because the Magic created good looks with Vucevic. He even hit a three. They were playing really well, but Siakam scoring with them added a sense of urgency to the Magic. A sense of urgency on offense isn't always good. For example, because Siakam scored with them, when they miss a shot after they create a good action, if they're up by a bit, they might keep going back to that action and creating good shots. But if you miss a good shot and you're tied or you're behind, that good shot does not seem as good because it just didn't have anything else. So if they're running great, honestly, they ran great pick and pop actions between Gordon and Vucevic. Gordon was doing great work snaking the pick and roll, creating a lane for Vucevic if he wanted to dive, or creating a chasm of, separation for Vucevic to shoot in the mid-range and beyond the arc. They stopped going to that, and the ball kept ending up in Fournier's hands, who was 0 of 10, I think, at one point. He ended up hitting a shot. I'm not sure where he finished. I'm gonna take a look here. Fournier finished at 1 of 12. He was 1 of 12 for the game. So that means he would have been 0 of 9, and then he hit a 3 to go 1 of 10. But the ball kept ending up in his hands. Or Wes Iwundu, who I like Wes Iwundu a lot, but Vucevic was the clear mismatch. He had Ibaka, who is dominating to this point. And then TV timeout came in. The Raptors went up 6. Siakam, it looked like Siakam had taken a tourniquet, applied it to the Raptors bleeding, and just said, "Look, I got us." DeMar DeRozan tweeting out style. Siakam dominated, and he dominated on defense too, but that was the thing. Isaac was in. Jonathan Isaac was in. So Siakam was roaming on defense, and he just ended up hanging out near the rim. If that's a Vucevic mismatch, that doesn't really matter. Siakam's not that much of a deterrent. However, if you have Wes Iwundu, Evan Fournier, DJ Augustine, guys like that trying to get to the rim, Terrence Ross even, and Siakam gets to hover around there and play as just an extra defensive helper, that's massive. And it ended up being massive. When the Magic had that big advantage, Vucevic on Ibaka, they were up by 1. They scored 4 points over the next 6 minutes. And Clifford rode them. Clifford wanted this one bad. He played Vucevic all of the first quarter just to escape some Gasol minutes. He played Vucevic for almost all the third quarter. I think Vucevic ended up playing 39 minutes. He rode them. He wanted this game bad. And the Raptors, who weren't getting anything from Kawhi Leonard. Danny Green wasn't making the shots that he usually makes to that point. And Marc Gasol had a couple tough calls and was out of the game. Pascal Siakam stopped the bleeding. So impressive. I couldn't believe it. Now, to the happy ending for Ibaka. After that TV timeout, Ibaka completely locked down on defense. And since the Magic went away from Vucevic, he seemed to regain a bit of stamina. He wasn't getting bullied on the block every single time. The Raptors were playing a great, aggressive style of defense around him as well. Terrific. And Ibaka, seemingly with extra stamina, had Vucevic miss a shot. To the Magic, who were trailing at that point, that just seems like a wasted play then because they missed the shot. So not viewing it with this optimistic lens of, we're creating a mismatch for Vucevic, we keep going to that well. They didn't. They stopped going away from Vucevic altogether at that point. Ibaka was involved in, I think, 3 pick and pop actions. He hit 2 shots, and he got a layup in that quarter. It was absolutely imperative that he added something on offense to that point, and he did. Because if Ibaka isn't going to defend Vucevic, he should at least be able to score against Vucevic somewhat. Vucevic isn't terrible on defense, but Ibaka can score on him. And it was imperative that he was able to do that, and he did. It was so rewarding to watch happen. Now, moving on to the fourth quarter. I mean, Lowry. I guess Lowry and Siakam, that's the story of the fourth quarter. And Terrence Ross, I suppose. Lowry's just unbelievable. Maybe the term is effervescence. I'm not sure. He just oozes this thing where he makes the Raptors better. And I guess it's all summed up. The Raptors, at the end of the game, they went to a lot of Kawhi Leonard actions. None of them worked except for Kawhi on the fast break. Outside of that, Kawhi wasn't able to create anything. He missed a lot of shots. Kyle hit a huge moonshot triple in the third quarter. That when you look at the final score of the game, free throws, how things ended up, was massive. And also when you think about Kyle finishing with, I think it was 10 assists, kept gnashing the pick and roll, kept making the Magic defense move, and he kept adding different elements to how the Magic had to defend them. That opened up so much for Pascal Siakam. It's so much easier for Siakam when he gets to attack a moving defense because a lot of Siakam's struggles, and struggles is, that might not even be the proper word because Siakam was so damn good and has been this whole series, by the way. He's been awesome. Even though Jonathan Isaac, I got to give him his due, he's been awesome defending Pascal Siakam. He's been really good. But it's so much easier for Siakam when he doesn't just have to go mano-a-mano and just score against Jonathan Isaac, because Isaac is good. However, one of the best things that could have happened. Kyle Lowry started moving their defense around, created mismatches for Pascal Siakam, and Siakam was the one who closed the Magic out. It wasn't Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard finished 5 for 19. Pascal Siakam finished 13 for 20. He put up 30 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. I suppose I should highlight Vucevic was awesome on the short roll in the fourth quarter. He created so many open three-point looks for the Magic because after Vucevic kind of got it going, I mean, he finished with like 22 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. That's an incredible stat line. That's really good. Good for Vucevic to get his game going. And even when Gasol was in the game, by that time, Vucevic had it going. And when he was coming on the short roll, he was making all the good passes. Evan Fournier made a triple off of his attention he drew. Terrence Ross hit 2 of them off of just Vucevic taking in so much gravity being in the lane. So Vucevic really adapted in this game, really turned the Raptors out in that way, and did a really good job. After that, it was just so rewarding, again, to watch Siakam close this game out. And Lowry wants to talk about how much he brings, besides the three-point shot, besides all the assists and all the creation on offense. After Leonard missed a jumper, Lowry and the Magic would have been coming back down the floor with like 30 seconds left and like looking to tie the game. Terrence Ross had just hit an unconscionable three-pointer coming off a pin down, made it like a great three-pointer and looked to that point like he could hit any three-pointer. Kyle Lowry grabbed an offensive rebound that seemingly no one on the Magic wanted to take, created an extra possession. That's the one that sent Kawhi Leonard to the line. 98-93, that's where it was left. The Raptors, they won, I think it's Amway Center is where the Magic play. They went into Orlando. They took Game 3. If they take Game 4, this is a 5-game series. That would be just the best thing. For everybody who's doubting the Raptors or everybody who's kind of not so high on the Raptors, for the Raptors to lose Game 1 and then everybody say, oh, it's the Raptors. I get it. But if they come and take 4 in a row, which they can do, the Raptors are the better team here. And I know Fournier didn't shoot well. I know Augustine wasn't as effective as he usually is. But the Raptors had a complete dud from Kawhi Leonard in this game, and they still stole it. Danny Green missed a wide open three-pointer in the corner to ice the game. Neither team, that's the playoffs for you though, right? Is both teams are geared against each other to completely just take away all the things they like. The Raptors, there's so many variables to their offense. so many different people who can succeed at so many different times that Kawhi Leonard, who they relied on so heavily in the first two games, especially the second, had a complete dud. Was almost a negative, he was a negative on offense in this game, let's say. And they still won. They still took it 98-93. The Magic, who are one of the best defenses in the whole league, the best defense after February, I think, and one of the best teams in the league after February, let's say, the Raptors went down. They took their top 5 defense against the Magic's top 5 defense. They got into a fist fight, and they came out on top 98-93. Terrific. I'm so happy with how the Raptors played this game. There could be a lot of complaining if you really wanted to about calls. I don't think the refs decide this game. It's a beautiful thing to watch the Raptors persevere in this way. It's just, man, very, very rewarding. The Mitchell Robinson Award, which goes to the other team's villain, that's going to go to Terrence Ross. I almost want to give it to Michael Carter-Williams every single game, but I'm not going to. Evan Fournier caught Kyle Lowry with an elbow, but Terrence Ross, he did a lot of work to bring the Magic back into this game, especially anytime they were at their lowest point. It seemed like he injected their offense with life with the triple. That was very villainous to me. Reggie Evans Award, that's the hustle one, or hustle adjacent things. Pascal Siakam, man. I know it's not, scoring isn't necessarily considered a hustle stat, but for Pascal Siakam, damn it, he makes it look like a hustle stat sometimes by the effort he puts in and just how much running and shifting and just different things he's doing on offense. Quick reaction comment, which I will respond to. Niagara_dude, a very popular commenter on Raptors Republic, I think I would say. I'm not going to repeat your swears. I think we want this podcast to be a no-swear podcast. So, F you, Tony Brothers, you piece of, let's say, crap. Yes, the refs did everything they could to help along the Magic because the league wants them to win. Siakam and Lowry saved our, let's say, asses. Tonight, that play at the end of the game, the rebound, Lowry more than made up for his game one. Couple things. I don't think that there's a league-wide conspiracy to have the Raptors lose this game. I do agree with you on Lowry. The thing is, Lowry's a superstar, or a star, or an all-star. One of those things. 0 points is not okay. But he was not the reason that the Raptors lost game one. He was a positive. He still does all the things he does. He's stirring the pot on offense. He's very active on defense. Very important to the type of defense the Raptors are playing right now, where they have to apply a lot of pressure in a lot of different places. He didn't have to make up for game one. He already did in that game two by scoring well. But game one, what I wanted from Lowry was, when your team's struggling, you want your stars to pick everybody up. Having Lowry go 0 for 8, 0 for 7, something like that, was disappointing. Not that he was the reason they lost, but he could have been one of the reasons that they came over top. He could have taken his game to the next level. So he doesn't have to make up anything for game one. But that rebound was massive, and there's a reason I spoke about it. Tony Brothers, conspiracy, I thought the Raptors had a pretty bad whistle tonight. Does that mean there's conspiracy? No, I don't think so. And I mean, conspiracy is a crazy thing to talk about, because I don't believe it. I mean, there's the 2002 Sacramento Kings thing. I think I believed then, but that's because of Tim Donaghy and him coming out and saying, hey, yeah, that was totally a conspiracy. This one, I don't think that there's a league-wide narrative being pushed to refs to have the Raptors lose against the Orlando Magic. I understand how that appeals to fans. We would just watch the game where Kawhi Leonard went 5 for 19, got hacked at the rim every time. But sometimes refs are just bad. It's seriously that much. Human error is a real thing. I don't think there was something pushing the refs to have the Raptors lose. The Raptors are the better team, and they're going to win this damn thing in 5, okay, Niagara dude? So there doesn't have to be a controversy or conspiracy. It was a tough game for the Raptors as far as refs go. I'll agree with you there. But let's all feel better. It's going to be Raptors in 5. Pascal Siakam is one of the shining stars of the whole league, and he's on our team, and he's such a sweetheart. Kyle Lowry keeps doing his things. We have Marc Gasol. let's leave on that. We made a trade for Marc Gasol at the trade deadline, and he has been everything, if not more, that we wanted him to be in the playoffs. What a blessing that is. I mean, he hasn't disappointed. He's been awesome. Let's focus on that. And Siakam. And Kawhi Leonard is probably going to come back the next game and do his damn thing. So the Raptors, 98-93. Try to take game 4. Let's go for it, man. I hope you enjoyed listening to this in the morning or at night right after the game. Whenever you're listening, I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Samson Folk, your host. Have a blessed day.